I'm John Niehaus, Director of Program Development for the National Association of Flight Instructors. And I'd like to welcome you to this edition of the NAFI 10-Question Challenge, the online video series where I take professional instructors, ask them 10 questions, and see how they made a name for themselves in the industry and leverage that for professional and personal success. My guest today is Kirby Ortega. He's a CFI, II, MEI, ATP. He's also a designated pilot examiner and Gold Seal instructor. He spent 30 years with Cessna Flight Operations. He's got over 15,500 hours of dual given. He's been a CFI for over 44 years. He was a inductee to the National Flight Instructor Hall of Fame. He's also been the 2002 National CFI of the Year. And he started Ortega Aviation Services, which is a multi-service aviation company. Kirby, welcome.
Good morning, John. Thanks for having me.
So in typical fashion, we'll just go ahead and jump right into it. So was aviation part of your original career plan, or was it something you never anticipated doing?
At the age of 18, I went down to Ross School of Aviation, challenged from my father, wanted to know what I was going to do with my life. And I said, well, I'd like to get into criminal justice. So I was going to be going to Wichita State University. And he said, well, tell you what, during the summer, why don't you get your instrument commercial CFI, and as a CFI, you could teach at the Cessna Employees Flying Club and go to school. I thought that was a great deal. He was going to fund most of it, so off I went. So I obtained my certificate at the Ross School of Aviation. 1976, in September of that year, also obtained my CFI ticket. And as you said, been doing it ever since. I hadn't planned on it being a full-time career, but during the semesters at WSU, became more and more involved with my training there at the club, and eventually made a name for myself, of all things, on the good side. And the company, that being Cessna, took notice of it. And one day when I was at an office on the east side of town as a chief flight instructor for a smaller school, one of my mentors popped in. I didn't know he was going to be my mentor, but he popped in and wanted to give me just an informal interview about working for the air transportation department there at Cessna, which was the corporate flight department, as well as training. So within about 3 weeks, I was an employee.
Wow.
56840 is my badge number.
So reflecting on your instructor skill with your first student, how well do you think you did?
Well, I saw him about a year and a half ago, and he was serving as an usher at a local theater, and he seemed to be happy as far as his flying. We talked a little bit about it. He said he wasn't flying anymore, but it was good to see that he was still alive and well.
And you mentioned a mentor in your previous answer. Most of us have had these mentors. Who was yours, and what was the most meaningful thing that they've taught you?
I was lucky to have three. The first one was a gentleman back in Riverside, and his name was Elmo Maurer. Elmo was my CFI instructor there at Ross School of Aviation. And what he told me is, he goes, we have too many mediocre instructors in the world. Don't be mediocre. And that's as we were walking out to a 172 one hot afternoon there on the flight line, and he pointed out to a Beech 18, which was just a derelict looking airframe. He said, I ferried that new from the factory. So, a lot of wisdom and a lot of experience there with Elmo.
Right.
The second individual was our chief flight instructor there at the Cessna Employees Flying Club, and that was Cliff Donnelly. And Cliff was a little bit hard-nosed on how he taught, but he taught and he was very thorough about it, as well as very passionate. So I think I took a little bit of that away from Cliff. And the next gentleman, as I mentioned, was Jerry Robinson. And Jerry taught me the fine art of breaking something down that was complex into something that even a housewife could understand regarding aviation. So that's what Jerry gave me. So like I said, I was lucky to have three.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I've had a few myself, and the value of learning from somebody else as a positive influence cannot be understated.
And of course, we learn from our students as well.
Yeah.
Patience, being humble.
Had both of those things happen to me too. So what's the most valuable non-aviation skill you've learned from being a flight instructor?
Communication skills. Being able to relate to, just a stranger, see if what you can come in contact with them as far as a common ground, I should say, and start a conversation from there. So communication skills is very, very important.
And like you said, breaking things down into their simplest of forms so that you can pass that message on. It's something that it takes a while to perfect.
Yes. And especially with the type of airplanes that I train in, the jets.
Oh yeah.
Taking a newbie pilot, maybe coming out of a Cirrus and moving up into a Mustang jet, there's a number of things that are a little bit different from the piston world versus the jet world that we have to explain.
What do you enjoy most about flight instruction?
The challenge of relating, as I mentioned, a person that's coming out of a Cirrus and helping them bridge that knowledge gap to the Mustang. The challenge from taking a person that is new to aviation altogether and putting him in the saddle of a 172 that he enjoys it and hopefully will complete his training. So those are the things that I really enjoy about flight instruction.
What's your most interesting, scary, or fun story you've had with a student?
There was a certain couple that I taught in the Skycatcher as well as in the Mustang. And they had claimed to be, I guess, knowledgeable in all areas of aviation. And we were all right. It was John and Martha King. And it was fun working with them, actually. So. But yeah, we actually have a little covert operation going on when the Mustang program first came out. And that was our customers that were going through the program weren't real happy with the end result. And they didn't have a positive experience. So we asked John and Martha if they would go ahead and go through the course, and they did for us, and just give us a review, which helped us develop with flight safety a better program for our customers. And then we also took a Skycatcher, when the Skycatcher first came out to San Diego and worked with John and Martha on putting together the Skycatcher program, or the sport pilot program curriculum that they developed. But flying with them in the little airplanes, and also I've known them from the days of the G1000, probably is where I first met them, when we put the G1000 in a 182, which is back in about 2005 timeframe. They came to Independence. We spent a lot of time with them there. And then, like I said, I really got to know them. Great couple.
I bet they're fun to fly with too.
Yeah, no doubt. He makes a really good grilled salmon fish steak that we had and serves it with a nice wine too.
Nice.
So, very, very good people.
So in your mind, what quality or skill makes for an exceptional flight instructor?
Being open towards the individual that you're going to be training, being technically savvy, and whether it be a 172, whether it be a Citation Mustang, really get into the book and know all about the airplane. Even a little bit of history about it goes a long way as well. And
how did you utilize your time as a CFI to transition into what you professionally do now?
Well, what I professionally do now, I would like to say I'm still a CFI. And just to give you an example, past 11 days I was in Long Island, New York, and was working with a couple of guys there on their 6158 training, and then also an individual on his initial Mustang training. Got back from New York, went down to Texas yesterday, actually 2 days down in Texas, and working with another individual on his 6158 and his Mustang. And this weekend we'll be going off to Scottsdale for my own training, recurrent training in the Mustang, 6158, 3 days with Simcom.
Okay. And sort of a piggyback to that question, what aspect of flight instruction best prepared you for your operations that you're doing?
What I would say is, once again, being very thorough in what you are trying to teach, having that background. Because if I have developed a relationship and reputation, it is based on my ability to explain something thoroughly and clearly to an individual. So once again, we go back to really work hard on the communication skills to relate to the individual that you're working with.
Yeah, so there's sort of a multifaceted way of doing that. It's the communication just in having the conversation, but then the communication in transferring the knowledge, which inherently are sort of two separate art forms.
That would be correct.
Final question. If you could give a new instructor one piece of advice for success in the profession, what would it be?
Specialize. look at what you feel you are good at and build on it. If you feel you're good at ground reference maneuvers, build on it. Become the expert in ground reference maneuvers. If you feel you're good at being able to decipher the Airman Certification Standard for your applicants, do it. Spend some time with them. That's great. But find an area that you excel in and build on it. Become that person that's the go-to person for ground reference maneuvers or the ACS, whatever it may be.
Excellent advice. Well, Kirby, thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us today. Do you have any final comments?
Just for the instructors that are out there right now, and I'm not sure if we're able to communicate as an organization to the younger ones, but it is a rewarding profession. And for me, you know, when we're looking at monetary values, it's been great. I mean, no complaints there at all. And you can make money as being just a professional flight instructor. There's no doubt about it. And I would like to say that maybe I'm an example of that. Now, it's taken me 44 years to get here, but, you know, it's well worth the effort. The time and effort is well worth it. So good luck out there to our new flight instructors. You can do it.
Excellent advice. And actually taking the whole thing full circle and going back to one of the great qualities is patience.
You got it. That too as well.
Well, once again, Kirby, thank you so much.
Thank you, John, for having me.